Thank you so much. Really, really do appreciate you. I know you've probably been up since, is it 4 or 5, just so that you could be here today. Well, thank you. So, folks, as we usually do on Hangout Cafe, can we please show her some love, some virtual hugs? Just show her, just so that she knows that we appreciate her coming to share her story today. Yes, I can see all the hugs, and I'm sending you virtual hugs too from London.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all the hugs. I need them.
Thank you. And I want to say, before we get started, I want to say a huge thank you to Yewande, who is on Wendy Toy, who introduced us. So a big shout out to you, Wendy Toy, Yewande. She was the one that linked me up with Dr. Omolola, and even our guest next week, she also linked me up with our guest next week. So I'm sending you some love, Yewande. Thank you so much. Okay, so today, oh goodness me, today we're going to be talking about justice for widows. And I don't know if you were on when I said this. I said that widowhood is something that most of us probably never think about or want to think about. But sadly, it does happen because life happens. At some point in time, somebody's going to die. One person or the other is going to die. One spouse or the other is going to die. But after a spouse dies, there can be challenges. And our guest today has been through that. I've heard, after you've been in this life for a long time, you hear all sorts of stories. This person, the spouse died and this happened. In fact, I know one story. I was there. I was a witness of something that happened to a widow after her husband died. But I'll tell that story later on. So today, our guest is Dr. Omolola Omoteso, and her bio is long, but I'll just tell you a little bit about her. She's a world-class transformational strategist who is anointed to heal minds and create smiles through spoken, written, songs, and words. She's an ordained pastor and reverend. She's an experienced media specialist and a dedicated publisher who is been led by God to reach the underserved and heal broken minds. She's a well sought after conference speaker, educator, human rights advocate, public affairs analyst, and I could go on and on. She's a writer, she's a content creator, she's a publisher, she's a counselor. She could go on and on. And her degrees, oh my goodness, she has so many. She's got BA, MA, MBC. I don't want to go into that. She's got loads. She's the executive director of CARES Global Network. She's a publishing consultant at CGN Books, editor of Willows magazine, and she's, oh my goodness, she's got loads. Hopefully she'll tell you more about that. That will do. But lastly, she's passionate about touching lives. And she said it was a legacy bequeathed by Deaconess Ibiyemi Famuyiwa. That's your mother?
Mm-hmm. That's my mother.
Yeah. So today, we welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Omolola Omoteso Ni Famuyiwa. So, tell us your story. Now, today, actually, I must say this, even though it's a story about what happened to her after she became a widow, but that is not going to be our main focus. For today, we want to talk about raising awareness because that's what we don't do enough of. So, Dr. Omolola, I leave it in your hands. Tell us your story. Anywhere you want to start from, please tell.
Thank you so much. I'm blessed to be here, and I just want to give glory to God. Ọlọ́run tó lágbára, òṣùbà rẹ̀ máa rè òye. Òṣùbà rẹ̀ máa rè òye. I give glory to God because I'm only alive by His grace. By His grace. Yeah. And the profile you've read is not to show that this is she, but to let people know that widowhood does not only happen to the poor,
yes,
or to the sick, or to the uneducated, or to the voiceless.
Yeah.
It is a calling that can happen to anyone at any time.
Yep. Yeah.
For many Christians, we are in the journey of God forbid. It is not my portion. It can never happen to me. I remember negotiating with God when I married my husband, because we married quite late. By regular or
world standard.
People believe 21, 24, 25. We didn't marry at that age. So after I got into marriage, I realized he had a medical condition. I said to God, please, at least give him 70 years so that I can at least enjoy this. So I negotiated.
Did you say 17 or 70?
I said, give him till he's 70 years.
Oh, 70. Okay.
70 years, so that at least I can enjoy marriage. I've been married late.
Yes.
And immediately.
How old were you when you got married? Just so that.
I was 38.
Sorry?
38.
38. Okay. Right.
Yes. So I said to God, at least, and God said to me, I am able to answer your prayers, but subject to his own will, subject to your husband's obedience, subject to your husband's, how he takes care of himself, how he listens to me. I'm able to respond to you, but you're asking on somebody else's behalf.
Wow.
He has responsibilities. So from that moment, I knew that I could only do my part. I can't do his part for him. So when suddenly it happened, via medical negligence, I had, people coming around to visit, to say hello, to condole. And I recollect there was a magistrate that kept saying to me, hope they have not started misbehaving. And I'm like, oh, this ones, they can't,
After your husband died?
Yes, after I passed on. I've been there for him, I've been there for them, they visited, at least we have a cordial relationship. But as you said, life happened. But before life happened, I had a very enjoyable marriage. Marriages, as we very well know, is not perfect. It's not a journey in perfection. So it's two imperfect people coming together under God, if you're Christians, if you're not Christians, under whatever name. So we had a very enjoyable marriage. If there was one thing I can point to, I could laugh with my husband. We could play, there were 16 years between us, but you wouldn't even see it, and we were friends. So when widowhood happened, I felt all left alone. But I remember that I've always had God and I still have God. So quickly I ran to him, because I remember for days I couldn't sleep and a doctor had to be brought in, to sedate me to sleep. I was just wide-eyed. I normally don't sleep well. So I naturally just have 4 to 6 hours of sleep. So now it was like sleep was completely ruled out. And I remember God saying to me, he's not going to die twice. So whatever celebration you want to do to him, rise up and do it now.
Okay.
And at that point, I asked for extra strength, because I had to oversee everything.
Okay.
The shock for me, the first shock was that when the meeting was called on how it's going to be interred, I was going to be buried, I was not taken.
Okay, so who called the meeting? His family?
His family. That was my first root shock. And they only said to me, we're going to discuss this. So what imputes do you want to make? What impute from my own bedroom? Okay. And I said to them, well, whatever you decide, just know that if you have a church you have to go to, I'm willing to go with you. But please, what he is going to wear, leave that to me.
Okay.
Decide everything you want to decide. But what my husband is going to wear, to have his last sleep here on the side of the divide, or his farewell here, please leave that. I know some traditions insist that would be done by siblings, but that was the only request I made. So by the time they returned, they are taking care of, the undertakers and everything. And I realized there was no celebration planned for him.
Well, so were they just going to bury him without having...
Just burial. That was the information that came back to me.
Okay.
They're taking care of undertaker, taking care of this, that. And I'm like, oh no. To start with, he's honorable. He lived honorably, and I'm going to celebrate him. And that is one of the discriminations a lot of widows face. They size you up. Oh, did you have a child for him? Oh, did you do this? Oh, did you do that? And they begin to rationalize. Nobody is asking you how you want to bury your husband. Nobody.
So in your case, sorry to interrupt. In your case, you guys didn't have children together.
We didn't have children together. Okay. Yes. But I always remind people, you go into marriage not because you want to have children. Sure. You go into marriage first and foremost because you love one another. Yeah. Yeah. You are in love with one another. And every addition to that marriage is a blessing. Yes. You know, whether adopted, whatever way you have your children. But that does not mean that this man should not be celebrated.
No.
So for me, I immediately jumped in. I asked for extra strength from God. And oh my God, God gave me abundance of strength.
Thank God.
I was able to plan a world-class program. The video is online for those who want to see it. Celebrate. Yeah. Person. Yeah. We say as Christians that this man has gone to heaven, right?
And yet you don't want to celebrate.
Celebrate. We just want to cry and mourn. It's going to heaven. That should be a celebration. And oh my God, God rose to my rescue. He gave him the bestest, if there's any word like that, ever, you know. And it lifted my grief. Okay. How you celebrate your man, how you celebrate your woman would lift your grief. Yeah. Because I saw people all around. I saw him being acknowledged. I saw him being validated. I saw him being celebrated. For me, it was bittersweet. Yes, this man will no longer be there physically, but I was able to give him the honor. Yeah. You know, it wasn't just about honoring him while he was alive. While he was alive, I was his caregiver, his nurse, his doctor, his counselor, his lover, all rolled into one. Yeah. So I don't know what part of my story you want, because this is a story of how many years now? It's now 10 years. You know, if we had the marriage, the season of marriage and the season of widowhood, it's now 10 years or more.
So your husband passed on in 16 or 17?
2016. He passed on in 2016.
Okay. And from what I understand, there's still a pending case with regards to his properties and your properties together. But just tell us, so how soon after your husband passed on because we've agreed we won't mention names because yes, there's still a pending case going on. But so how soon after your husband passed on people start to show their, as they say, show their hands or show their faces? Yes.
Well, we should know that harmful, hurtful, humiliating, fraudulent practices, you know, against widows have gone global. So let me start with that. Okay. We used to believe that it happened to people who were illiterate. We used to believe that it happened to people in the villages. Yeah. And then we got to a point people believe that it happened to the Igbos, you know. But it's gone global and it happens all over the world. It is about stealing wealth. Let's get that straight. Yeah. It is about taking power away from someone who is vulnerable, for someone who is down, who is low-spirited. And they do it as quickly as possible, because once you get yourself, once you rise up from the ashes,
you start to think properly. But when it happens, you're not in that frame of mind.
Exactly. Yeah. So mine happened, it started within 1 week.
Oh, wow.
As I told you, they came to me to say, we're going to have a meeting. That's an abuse. Yeah. Yeah. You don't go and you don't schedule a meeting behind me. I am, or I lived, or I am a living spouse. Yeah. You don't schedule a meeting behind me. You don't do that. Yeah. I validate your place as siblings, you know, as family. but you don't sidetrack me and go and discuss how you want to bury my man. So it started from there, and that was just a few days after.
Wow.
Also, I was asked, because we had come to Nigeria to take a federal role. We came on vacation, and during that vacation, it was to take up a federal role with the presidency.
Yeah.
So we came with some things. So the first actual action, you know, Act 1 or Act 2, was to ask me to come and go to where our documents are so I could give them documents. And I wasn't thinking, I'm telling you, the Omolola that is not in that state, I would first bombard you with questions. I wasn't asking any questions. I just went like,
you gave them the
I just went like sheep being led to the slaughter. My aunt went with me, and we got to the place where we had our things, and they asked me for insurance document. Let me not keep saying they, because even though joined hand in hand, they were doing this together, the person who put himself up front was my husband's brother. Okay. So he took me to this place. He actually drove us, myself and two aunties, to where we had our things, and he said, oh, you need to give me the insurance documents because I've been told that we need to do something fast in order to protect the properties in the US. Wow. And I began to search for the document, and at some point I broke down. Why did I break down? When my husband was alive, I never had to go through his things. I'm a kind of woman that the moment I got married, I'm not monitoring no man. I don't have time for that. Whatever you want to do, you're free. What God wants me to see, He sends me there. So you try any gibberish or nonsense, God takes me right to it. I don't waste my time looking for or searching or monitoring. I've never done it, not as a single unmarried person, not as a married person. So I've never had to rummage through his things. And here am I, looking for
insurance
documents. I didn't even know whether the documents exist. I remember responding, insurance, like what's that? Like you would think I didn't go to school. Like insurance. I didn't have time to think about it. I said, yes, don't you take lessons? Don't you know about insurance? I said, we never discussed it. And that was the truth. We never discussed insurance. Because one thing I said to myself, after I got married, I said, and I realized that I married an American. I thought I married a Nigerian. But one day we were praying, and I was doing my Niger prayer, you know, all the amen after. And my husband was just silent throughout. And at the end, I got the amen in Jesus' name. I said, oh, wake up call. You were married to an American, not a Nigerian. You know, so once I realized that, and having watched a lot of American films, I told myself, number one, don't discuss money. Americans can get out their guns, you know, when they're upset about money. I've watched it in films. So it was one of the warnings I gave to myself. When a man trusts you enough, you know, he will let you know his ATM, you know, PIN number, which my husband did with me. Okay. So I've searched these things, and I just kept giving them any document like that looks like anything tangible. Wow. And at some point I broke down. And it was at the point I broke down, my auntie said, enough. Okay. She's not doing this no more. This woman just lost her husband. It's not even a week yet. And you're making her do this. Enough is enough. And it stopped. Another thing that happened was he came to me, the same person, to say, oh, you're going through a lot of grief. Why don't I help you with picking out the vault? Okay. I'd arranged it. I arranged it. I did everything. They wanted to bury him somewhere else. I said, no, I want to bury him where I would have peace. Yeah. Where I can go to at any time of the day, you know, whether I want to go cry there, whether I want to go just visit, but I want a place that would give me a measure of peace concerning this man. Yeah. So I picked the vaults and garden and made all the arrangements for it. And he said to me, let me go and help you pick, you know, a spot. I mean, who would think that would be used for fraud? No one would think that would be used. You've made arrangements, you've done everything, and somebody wants to go pick on your behalf. Yeah. You wouldn't fight over that, not in that state. No. And so I said, not a problem. Unknown to me, when he got there, he wrote his name as the applicant.
Oh.
He wrote his own address, not ours in the US.
My goodness.
Even though we went to Nigeria, we're there on a visit.
Yeah.
We didn't relocate, we didn't change domicile. We still had our home here. So he wrote his name. He wrote his own address. And remember, he's a lawyer, so he knows the holes in law. So there was a lot of premeditation. There was a lot of, I started going on, and I wasn't even aware that I'd already stepped into what will become a global, so to say, fraud.
Yeah.
So that was another point. Another point was the insistence on doing a viewing ceremony.
Okay.
All this they wanted to do to gather their own information and to paint a picture of a man who has changed domicile.
Okay.
Which means something legally. They had also gone to collect the burial certificate with their own details.
Tell us about that. Please tell us about that, because that's another thing that I just found incredible.
Yes, burial certificate is a very important document. Nobody can bury, as far as Lagos State is concerned, without a burial certificate. Make sure, as a widow, that you are the one who is sending someone, or as a widower who is married to someone who is wealthy, because it happens to men too. Let's not remove that from the picture. When we say widow, just understand that it can happen to men. So I know a man who had to run away from Nigeria when the wife's family descended on him because they are wealthy. So this is about money, don't forget. This is about economic empowerment. So there is something called the burial certificate, and it's different from a death certificate.
Okay.
So let me explain both.
Yes, please.
A death certificate in Nigeria, it's very clumsy. We actually have two.
Okay.
But you cannot do the second without the first. Okay. The first is the one that is issued to you at the hospital. So I would say for me, the fraud started from even the moment before he was pronounced dead, the fraud started.
Okay.
Because he was unwell. He was supposed to be taken straight to the hospital. He was taken home, which is not medical negligence. In the US, we have what is called a power of attorney over health, which my husband duly signed to me first.
Yes.
So if he had fallen on sick or unwell in the US, the first thing they would have reached me. Okay. You have to make decisions where he cannot make decisions for himself. Okay. So he couldn't make decisions for himself, and his brother made the decision to take him home. You don't take a sick man home. You take him to where he can get help, especially one living with medical conditions. Yeah. So he took him home. By the time I got into the situation and we rushed him to the hospital, they were able to start something, but then he balanced up, they started transfusion, whatever they needed to start. And I stepped out to say, well, you can go home. He has normalized, they're on it. You go home, I'll stay. I'm used to this, you're not. And then he went inside. And within 5 minutes, I went back inside, or 3 minutes or 2 minutes, and his eyes were already closed. And I'm like, what is happening? They said he's sleeping. Sleeping? How could he be sleeping? We rushed him to a nearby hospital, to Latut, I believe, and for me, he was still alive. But they would go in and they would tell them he's BID. Okay. And I'll rush him again to another hospital. And a nurse tested him and she said, the pulse is still there. It's faint. We can do something. And the next thing he went to them to say is BID. And nobody
knows. BID means
brought in dead.
Dead, yes, okay.
So at the point where they decided to do the death certificate document in the hospital, he wrote his own address, which is fraud. Okay. This man wasn't living in his house. This man was living abroad. Yeah. So you have to pay attention. It's unfortunate that you're dealing with grief and you have to pay attention to these things. It makes you have to have somebody who is trustworthy to do these things for you, because you really can't do it at that point in time.
And if you want to get involved in doing all those things, they'll say, are you the one that killed the man?
Exactly. So he wrote his own name on that document in the hospital. And this is the document the National Population Commission will use to do the final death certificate, which is the federally recognized, internationally recognized one.
Okay.
So they would only populate it with the information
that they got from
the hospital copy.
Yes.
And the hospital copy has my husband's brother's address.
Okay.
Has my husband as living in Nigeria.
Okay.
When he's only in Nigeria on vacation.
Yeah.
So of course, when the NPC1 arrived, it was his brother's address. I took it. I spoke to somebody highly placed who happened to be my husband's closest friend.
Okay.
And he said to me, don't fight with anybody. Just, take the document, return to Nigeria. Because I let him know, I said, this document does not have my husband's address. He said, no, it doesn't matter. You're recognized in the US, so just go back to the US and do your letter of administration. So I did just that, using that document. Guess what? It was that document that they pulled out to say, oh, she came to lie in the US. Her husband already changed domicile to Nigeria. Look at the death certificate she submitted.
Wow.
It has a Nigerian address.
So they were basically saying that he is no longer an American citizen, is a Nigerian citizen. My goodness.
But for you to change domicile, for you to change from being an American back to being a Nigerian, you needed to have abandoned your citizenship.
Okay. Which he did.
And that's months and years.
Okay.
He left the shores of the United States in November or December. He died in February. So you can't make that claim without conniving with judges.
Yeah.
You can't make that claim without, without getting someone on your side. And who they got on their side was a ruthless Caucasian lawyer.
Oh, before we actually go there, remember there was another thing you probably forgot, that in Nigeria they started the probate.
Yes.
Without you even knowing.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. After the funeral, normally before the funeral, I should have been handed the death certificate. I should have been handed the burial certificate. And at that point, I would have been able to just go in and change things because it's yet to be buried.
Yes.
But I was given nothing. And I had a cousin that just kept saying to me, you should ask for your death certificate. And I'm like, what am I doing with it? What am I doing with the paper? The man is gone. The man matters to me than all these documents. And I was so furious. And she kept saying, you need it. You need to ask for it. So when she wouldn't let me be, I asked for it. I'm like, you told me you were going to help me pick a spot. You told me you were going to help me do this and that. You never returned to me. I was expecting you come to me for a formal letter or something for you to even start the process.
Okay.
And I said, the death certificate? Actually, Sister Agba said, I said, wait a minute, just wait a minute. I'm talking about the death certificate you told me you would help me process. And I was waiting on you to come for a letter of authorization for you to move forward.
Yeah.
Why are you doing all this And it's like, yes, I'm talking about the same thing. Sister can be very difficult. And she already said that we shouldn't move forward without a meeting. I said, a meeting? He said, so once you're okay, we can schedule the meeting. And I'm like, I'm not sick. I'm not sick. This journey of grief or widowhood is not going to wrap up in 1 month or 3 months or 1 year. If you want to have the meeting today, let's go. If you want to have the meeting tomorrow, let's do it. Yeah. And he said, okay, I'm going to schedule the meeting. And I guess the next day, I was just bundled, to their family home. I had to ask 2 of my cousins, to come along with me. My aunties to come along with me. And I'm like, just follow behind, or, this is the address of where I believe they're going or whatever. Just come along. And they drove and we got there. And when we got there, everybody was set. We went in. The audio is online, the audio recording. Everything I say on your platform is nothing but the truth. Okay. And they can be verified. I want everybody listening to know that. Okay. The recording, because I'm a journalist, and immediately as I was getting into the meeting, God said to me, record. Okay. And I pressed.
And you started recording, yeah?
And I started recording. Okay. You would need to boost the audio because the phone was in my bag. Okay. And I got in, my aunties came in with me and they said to them, oh, sorry, what we do in our family, maybe forbidden in other places, but hey, you cannot come in. And I'm like,
as in who come in? Your aunties can come in.
Yeah, I wish I took my mad aunties. I took the quiet ones went with me. And like they were using jazz on them, they just like went back. Okay. Because I was actually putting up an argument. I'm like, your husband is seated, so how come my aunties can come in?
Exactly.
Your husband is seated right there, so why are you telling me? And she said, well, our husband, since marriage, has been recognized as the first son of the family. That actually made me upset because my husband is the first son. So if you want to acknowledge anybody as first son, I am the wife and I am here. So for you to acknowledge your own husband as the first son of the family, you're kicking up something you can't really defend. But this was not a moment of fight. Don't forget, I'm still going through, I buried my husband maybe barely 3 weeks after he passed on. Yeah. So this was quite early. Okay. This was in March. And the meeting started. And as the meeting went on, I realized this meeting was cooked up to get me to say that we have changed domicile. Okay. Because it started by saying, Otipada wale. So he has returned tonight home. So everything we do, we're going to do in Nigeria. And it got to a point, I think the Holy Spirit just awakened my spirit. And I said, no. He lived an American and he died an American. Whatever you want to do in Nigeria, I don't really know much about that. But as far as his estate is concerned, it would be handled in the US. He didn't have any property in Nigeria, but he had inheritance in Nigeria. Okay. It was in that meeting I realized that my husband's brother had already gone to the American embassy to notify them of my husband's death and to put himself forward as the next of kin.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Already put himself forward as the next of kin.
Wow.
Don't forget, they don't have record that I'm in Nigeria.
Wow.
So if somebody is going to say, oh, he's dead, I'm the next of kin. But they couldn't continue that process because they needed the National Population Commission copy.
Okay.
And I succeeded in getting that copy. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, it was their information on it.
Okay.
At that point, I could have fought it, I could have queried it, but I didn't suspect anything was coming at me. Even though there were little issues, I still did not put it up to them that they would want to do fraud.
And I guess even the fact that they went to the American embassy is not something that you would think of, oh, I better go to the American embassy to go and tell them my husband died.
I never thought about it. All I was thinking about is when I'm okay, I would, return to the US and then do the process. And I was going to leave it till forever. Yeah. So I returned to America and then another set of drama started. So by that March, by the meeting ended inconclusively with me in tears because it got to a point they were saying to him, after all, you already came home before him. After all, oh, do you even love him? You didn't change your name. And I'm like, what are you getting at? What exactly where is all this coming from? And I remember saying to my to his elder sister, I said, the man is going to fight you. Where I was exasperated. Where is all this you bringing up? They wanted to just push me to say, yes, we have changed domicile, and I never did.
Maybe perhaps, were they recording too? Maybe at that end, maybe.
I think they were recording, because all through the meeting, my husband's brother, I don't like to say my brother-in-law because they messed up that relationship. So my husband's brother was standing over me.
Okay.
You can't see that when you're listening to the recording. And he had his phone with him all the time. Okay. So they probably were also recording. Because this was already a setup. I walked into a setup. I was taken into a setup. And apart from when he had to confess that he has gone to the embassy, and I challenged him right there. I said, to do what? I said, do you know that if I don't already have my papers as a resident, going to the embassy could have messed up things for me? Yeah. Because then when you say you want to go back, they'll say, to do what? Yeah. We are told your husband has passed on. So why didn't you let me handle that? You know, so throughout the meeting, he was standing over me in a very imposing way, right opposite, standing right over me. And he had his phone with him. So yes, they probably were also recording. The meeting ended inconclusively at the point I said, you know what, I gotta go. Wow. I was in so much tears, and I'm not a crybaby, trust me. I faced so many tough things in life. To break me down to the point of crying, you have really broken me. Wow. So the meeting ended inconclusively because, I mean, here was I at a meeting, you didn't allow any family member to stay with me. Wow. And you had how many people? One was on the phone with them, and they had the sister's husband, the sister, and my husband's brother. And I'm right there in the center. Yeah. So it was when I cried and the meeting ended inconclusively. My husband's brother ran after me to say, oh, and the meeting was going so well. You shouldn't have done that. Oh, hey, he never spoke during the meeting, apart from when I asked him questions directly. And but guess what? By the next day, we had scheduled to meet again in April. That's in a month's time. Yeah. By the next day, they had gone to the probate unit of the Lagos State Judiciary to start the probate process, to start the process of getting a letter of administration. Let me differentiate. When your husband dies or your wife dies without a will, you do what is called the letter of administration. Yeah. When the person dies with a will, you do what is called the probate process. Okay. That is just them validating or verifying that the will was actually signed in his own hands, and all that. And let me pause there a little. I think this will gibberish is just a fraud.
Okay, why did you say that?
Thank you. You are married to someone. Yes. Right? Yeah. A man and a woman. Yeah. Once you get married, you pull your resources together. Yeah. If the only resource you as a woman has is time, you're giving it all to him. Yeah. So, and it's a resource. Yeah. Because if you were to pay for it, it may actually be unaffordable. Yeah. Especially in my own case, you know, with all the degrees you mentioned. Yeah. So you're pulling all your resources together. And suddenly, a court of law is saying they need a will signed by the man alone. Excuse me? If you want to do a will on what you owned before marriage, fine. But if there's going to be a will for after marriage, it should be jointly done if it's going to be factual.
Yeah, yeah, it should be joint thing. Yeah.
So it is one way our patriarchal laws have disenfranchised women, and women are not realizing this. The marriage certificate should be enough cover. Yeah. When you go into business, right? When you go into business, it's a partnership. Yeah. One person dies, the other person carries on. Yeah. How come when you go into marriage and all the elaborate, you know, things we have to do to get that marriage certificate and flag it like you've won the world? Yeah. And suddenly the man dies, you're asking for a document signed by the man that could be challenged by any idiot in the court of law. That's fraud. And we need to rise up to fight that. A marriage certificate should be sufficient for you to step in as an administrator. Whether you're getting that culturally, spiritually, or religiously, or legally, it should be valid. So for you to be asking for a document that can be forged, for you to be asking for a document that can be challenged in a court of law, you've already put the woman in a very tight corner. And when they went to do this document, if they had put family, they would ask for my marriage certificate. Don't forget, those people are lawyers. So they put Omolola Omoteso. I never legally changed my name. So that in itself is fraud or forgery.
Because anyone could be Omoteso, Mrs. Omoteso.
Thank you. And then they did not use where you deposit a body first is the hospital that should issue a death certificate. We deposited the body in Lagos, in General Hospital, Lagos. If you know Lagos very well, that's Lagos Island. That certificate. And I found this out after the fact, long after. I mean, you're not trying to analyze the death certificate when you're grieving. It was later I realized that this death certificate was done by lawsuits. How manage?
How?
Because they moved, they moved my husband's corpse. They moved his body to where they would have rights to the documents, be able to manipulate the documents. And I tell you, if I had the money after he passed on and they started this drama, I would have asked for his body to be exhumed. And I would be able to prove that they killed this man. I'm telling you. Because all this drama you're cooking up is completely unnecessary. So Lagos State University Teaching Hospital issued that certificate for a man that was not deposited in Lagos State Teaching Hospital. The consultant who signed the autopsy should be in jail. The person who did the document should be in jail. The person who allowed them to start the probate process without the wife's signature should be in jail. But you see, our advocacy has changed that. How? Because we made so much noise on Twitter and on social media, and we dragged the judge, the chief judge, or just whatever she's called, the chief judge of Lagos State. We really dragged her into this. And now the process in Lagos State, you can't even sign the first document without the wife being involved.
Oh, thank God. So that has happened since you...
Yes, that has happened. Because then what they would do is the lawyer could come and say, I'm representing her.
Wow. Goodness. So does that mean that when they went to start the process of administration, does that mean that your signature was forged? Oh, the internet has gone. Wow. This is so unbelievable. This is so unbelievable. Wow. Oh my goodness. It can only happen.
Sorry about that. Okay. So this lawyer who was representing my husband's brother went to the probate to say, I'm representing both of them. They cooked up a letter to show that they wrote to me. They never wrote to me. I did not even get wind of it until 11 months after. So they started the process, and they wrote to US as well, unknown to me. And that is where sexism comes in. They wrote to the US to notify the surrogate court in the US that my husband passed on and that my husband's brother's lawyer is my lawyer and will be filing for letter of administration for me in Nigeria because my husband already changed domicile. Those were lies. If sexism was not reigning, if if those in the court respected me, I live in the US, reach me. Somebody sent us a letter. Nobody reached me. So when later they came up, I can see your face is just pulling up.
I'm like, this is so unbelievable. This is like, what?
What we went through it, so relax. So they had gone to, lay the foundation for everything they were going to do. So they had put in a letter to say, oh, we're going to do this. We are lawyers. And they believed them. And they tried to become administrators. They said to them, you can't become an administrator without her. So, and they weren't going to come to me. This is in America now. This is in America. Okay. So down the line, when they were not getting any, when they realized I now received my letter of administration legally, because it's a working process. When I now received my letter of administration, my husband's brother were, oh, thanks for all the love you're showing me. Making my heart beat. Thank you. Anyway, by the time they realized that they couldn't move forward, they tried to get in touch with our realtor. That is our real estate agent here. Yeah. They got in touch with her and said to her, oh, we want to help her. So be sending us information. Okay. And she's like, there's a process for that. I can't just send you information. Yeah. You need to get a permission. You need to get a permission for me to be able to do that. They
contacted your realtor to say they want to help you sell your husband's property.
They want to help me to manage the estate. Okay. They want to help me to manage the estate.
Right. Okay.
Have this charging. They want to help me to manage the estate. So she said to them, no, you need to get a permission for us to be able to do that. Okay. Okay. So they were stopped there as well. So what they did next was to file a credit claim that my husband owes them money. You're still frowning, okay.
No, you know what I'm laughing? I'm thinking, okay, so they tried one, it didn't work. So now he owes them money. Okay, go on.
Yeah, so they went into this, he owes us money, thing. And I didn't want to respond because I'm like, this is gibberish. Yeah. But I got in touch with a lawyer who said to me, you have to respond. If you don't respond, the court is going to award them the claim. Okay. This is just very simple. You respond and the case stops there. Yeah. And so I responded, to say, I'm not aware that my husband owes you money. And I stated everything my husband already did for him, including getting him a Honda Pilot. Okay. At court, stated everything. Yes. And of course, they threw it out. At that point in time, they needed to get a lawyer here to handle it. Okay. Because they were not aware that from state to state, laws are different. Yeah. They got a lawyer in maybe Atlanta. Okay. We did the credit claim for them. Okay. And in the document they did, which is called power of attorney, for him to be able to act on my husband's brother's behalf. Yeah. They wrote there that my husband's last address, listen to this very well. Yeah. My husband's last address is my home in Inglewood, New Jersey. Okay. And that's another issue. I won't go into that one. That's the issue of racial zoning, because I don't live in Inglewood, but I am zoned as Inglewood. Okay. We won't go there. It's not part of widowhood. But it's part of what African Americans face in America. Okay. So he had given him this document that stated clearly that we had not changed domicile, right? Yes. And this credit claim was dropped because once I responded, that's the end of the case. Okay. When they realized I now have the letter of administration and I started administrating, and US does not give siblings anything. US does not give siblings anything. But you should know that the woman your brother married is not a greedy woman. Whenever you would visit, I'm responsible for paying, utilities bills, because it's one of the things I agreed with my husband. He said he doesn't like visitors.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love visitors. I love hosting. And we negotiated.
Okay.
Well, you can have as many visitors as you want to have, provided you're paying the utilities when they're here.
Okay.
So whenever we have visitors, I'm responsible for the feeding, for the utilities, and couples make such, some people can say, oh, what's that? Oh, couples make different, they negotiate on different fronts.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want visitors and you don't negotiate, then there's no visitors. Then you can be miserable. But so I'm the one taking care of them.
When they come.
I'm the one ensuring that, their welfare when they're in country and all that. And if they would come with their children, I'm taking care of them as well.
Yeah.
Making sure that they're occupied, they have places to go to, just being there for them.
Yeah.
Yet,
wow.
Once they realize that the U.S. law does not give them anything,
yeah.
They did something bizarre. They filed a lawsuit
against you,
against me, against the estate of my husband.
Okay, what were they trying to get now?
Thank you. In the real world, he wouldn't have been able to file a lawsuit. Why? He acted as my husband's lawyer off and on.
Okay.
So already, ethically, you can't.
Okay.
You shouldn't be able to. But he got a Caucasian lawyer to file the lawsuit. And this were the 3 points in the lawsuit. One, that I lied about domicile. That my husband, that I shouldn't have done. I know you're looking at me again like your look has become my amusement, like really.
I'm just thinking how desperate people can be.
Maybe I need to frown so that people know that this is a really serious matter.
But this has been a long journey, so it's a long day since 2016.
So they said in the lawsuit that I should be punished for coming to get a letter of administration in the U.S. That I should be punished. That I should.
Good. Oh, wow.
2, they still brought up the claim for money. They brought up the claim for money.
The one that your husband
owes them money. Now they added, they added to the money, they said it has grown interest. And then I think there were three claims they made, in the document. But guess what? In the very certification, there's something called certification when you submit a lawsuit.
Yes.
And you have to say something like, oh, there's no case anywhere else, or everything I'm writing here is true.
Okay.
His lawyer actually wrote there that the application, the third thing that they put in the document is that I have already filed for letter of administration in Nigeria. Don't forget they filed in my name, not on my behalf. Yeah. They filed in my name. So here they're writing, she already filed in Nigeria. And they used the document from the probate with my name on it as Omolola Omoteso. In the US, that would not have been acceptable because US will say a legal name is Omolola Famuyiwa as far as US is concerned. But again, sexism, again, connivance. So in the certification, the lawyer put there that this case, the application in Nigeria was done by his client, my husband's brother. That should have stopped the case. There's also something called Statutes of Limitation.
Yeah.
You cannot bring a credit claim 9 months after.
Okay. After the death of the,
Yes. Okay. Once it passed 9 months, it closes it. So you needed first to have gone to do like a waiver in court.
Okay.
To seek permission from the court to bring the case.
Okay.
They didn't do that. Also, because this man is neither resident in US and he is not a citizen, he should have brought a document from the Supreme Court. It should have been Supreme Court to surrogate court here.
Okay.
He didn't do that. He just got a white lawyer, a Caucasian lawyer, to stand in for him. So once the lawyer is using his own address, nobody's questioning his residency.
Wow. Wow.
Nobody is questioning his own domicile. That is my husband's brother's domicile.
Wow. Wow.
So this case started, and it was as if the judge has been jazzed. A very experienced judge, elderly judge. You get to the courts, and he's just going back and forth. And I had to go into serious prayers and fasting. No joke.
Oh my goodness.
And during this period, I was severely traumatized.
Oh my goodness.
And when I open my eyes, when I wake up and I see that I'm alive, oh my God, all the decrees in the Bible, all the questions in the Bible, I will speak to the sun, to the moon, to the rain, to everything I can speak to arise for my help.
Wow.
And it got to a point God said to me, my daughter, you focused on the enemy. This enemy, they're greater in diabolism than you can imagine. You need to focus your attention on me. I created them, and I am able to do with them.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had to start focusing on God, worshiping God. And I got to court one day, and the judge said, wait a minute, we've been going all over the place. We need to do two things first. Decide whether there is a death, and decide whether I change domicile. And then we can go on to trial. And I'm like, you know, now you're talking. Now you're talking like a sane person. But guess what?
What?
We started what we call the pre-trial. But even there as well, so many lies, so many forgeries, passports was forged, this, you know, just to get. And at some point, the judge suggested we should mediate. And we both did not want to mediate. But the judge compelled me to go into mediation. I would like us to just pause on the story so that we can look at, you know, what do people need to do to protect them? Because the story is endless, really.
Yes,
now is that the Solicitor is taking everything. When I say everything, they've succeeded in taking 3 homes. The one I am currently in, yes, 3 homes. And I'm not talking about homes valued at $100. I'm talking about homes valued at between $1 million and $1.65 million.
Wow.
In choice places in Bergen County. So in the US of A. so the last property, they're about even kicking me out of it. And that's why I'm organizing a protest. Oh yes, I can see that face again that you're giving me, like, really?
I'm sorry.
I know.
I know, unfortunately.
It looks like something out of...
Yes, I know, because of time and all of that. I mean, I've watched some of the videos and all of that, so I know that it's a long story. And so people are probably like me saying, "How can this happen?" But it's happening right now. It's happening right now. It's a long story.
Yes. And that is why come September 30th, I've planned what I call a praise protest, you know, just to drive home the fact that this should not be happening in America. Because I tell you, in over 5 years, no journalist in America has taken my story. And that is because of racism.
Wow.
No journalist, no news media. A lawyer said to me, I can help you delay this case, but the people who are fighting against you, the people who want your properties, they are powerful. I can't win. but I can help you stretch and delay things. And I kept spending money. It got to a point I got a Nigerian American who jumped in, you know, I was going to file an appeal after I was locked out of a home I renovated for 3 years. I visited the UK and I returned, and my home was under another lock and key. So I couldn't get in. Illegal, but done with the support of the courts, believe it or not. But at that point in time, I said to myself, you know, as I sat at the bus stop, ready to spend my first night, from having 4 homes to having no home, because even a matrimonial home at that point was rented out. As I sat at the bus stop, one thing dawned on me. I am Omolola, the daughter of the Most High God, and nothing had changed. Properties had been taken, but I had my sanity.
True.
Properties had been taken, but I had my skills. Properties had been taken, but I had my contacts. And most importantly, I have my God.
Yes.
And at that point, right there, God sent me help. Right there at the bus stop, God sent me help.
Wow.
So come September 30, we're planning a praise protest. Going to be peaceful, praising God, petitioning those who we need to petition. Maybe the media will come to that, maybe they won't, but we are putting the words out.
You know, like even as you're talking, do you know what? I feel sorry for them. Because, you know, God is a God of justice. God is going to deal with them. Seriously. God is going to deal with them. And God will arise on your behalf. Oh, yes, it may have taken long, but God is going to arise on your behalf. Seriously.
And He has. One of the things when I'm invited to platforms like this or to speak at a conference, which I did just last week at the Feast of Esther conference, one of the things that makes me happy is that I'm relevant. Because every invitation is a call to my relevance, to the relevance God has put in me. So many widows, I don't even use that tag. You know, I use the tag of the winner, being graced, because the Bible does not even call me a widow. The Bible calls those who cannot take care of themselves. Word so disenfranchised, because widow abuse has been on forever. Look in the Bible. You know, you find the widow whose children were taken away. Didn't her husband have anything?
Yes.
If she has empty vessels, if she has empty vessels, it's because her husband was wealthy or she was wealthy. You don't have empty barrels or empty vessels if you're poor. That container came from something. But her sons were about to be taken. Oh, she was about to eat her last meal. Oh, she was poor or whatever. So widowhood or widow abuse has been going on forever. But the Bible says the church should take them up. Is the church doing that? Discrimination for me started from my church. Because actually nobody was inviting me to do anything anymore. And when people want to introduce me, they'll say, oh, you remember? Oh, I don't want to use that, but you know, that's the way you will remember her. The woman who lost her husband. And I said, wait a minute. My name is Dr Omolola Omoteso. Full stop. Don't introduce me as the woman who lost her husband. Don't introduce me as the widow. Don't introduce me as the abused woman. I am Dr Omolola Omoteso, professional, pastor, revered, to the glory of God. So even you find people, even friends, my closest friend, for instance, I just realized that she didn't even come for the funeral. It was later I found out that the husband said, I don't want your association with a widow.
Wow.
I don't want to die early. These are horrible myths amongst Christians. Wow. And guess what? Those who abuse widows the most, let me shock you, Pastor, let me shock you. Those who abuse widows the most are Christians. Or they use the tag or label Christians. And I'll tell you why. For the Muslims, we may not like the distribution, but they already have their distribution. So if the man has 10 wives, they have their distribution. And don't forget, another man can promptly marry the woman because polygamy is allowed.
Yeah.
But in Christianity, we come in under the cloak of believers. We don't even talk about widowhood in churches. And then we package 1 kg or 2 kg of rice. Excuse me? If you give me 1 kg of rice now, except you put it in a hamper, I'm not going to take it. What am I going to use it for? You pack 1 yard of Ankara, you pack, no. Why don't you help them get what they've lost?
Yeah. Yeah.
At the initial stage, I was happy when people gave me money, but later on I became upset because I said to them, I mean, when they illegally sold that matrimonial home, the surplus funds, after paying whatever they needed to pay, was $795,000. 1 home. Why don't you fight to help me get that? And you're giving me $500 or $50? Why don't you support me to get that back? Because even amongst your friends, among the body of Christ, they don't believe you should be entitled to that wealth.
Why not?
They don't believe that such wealth should come to you. Some of those who were upset with me were upset because they had asked my husband to marry their friend. And in their mind, oh, if it was our friends, we would have had access to this money. But somebody can tell you something about me. My husband's friend who lives in the UK, I wouldn't mention his name because I know he wouldn't want me to mention my name, but there's only one husband's friend I have in the UK who has stuck closer to me than even my sibling. And he said to me, he said, Omolola, what people are saying is horrible. What your husband's brother is going to tell people about you is horrible. But I'm going to stand by you because of one major reason. Your husband and I spoke with each other at least 3 times every week. And he never said one word against you. If he ever spoke about you, it was in praise of your skills, it was in praise of your support, it was in praise of how you have cared for him. I believe he was a happier man when he married you. So I'm going to stand by you 100%. And I tell you, he still called me yesterday. He is still standing by me.
Thank God. Thank God for that. Thank God. Thank God. Wow. This has been just, it's like a Nollywood story, a movie rather. It's like a Nollywood movie. But the truth
never have part 1, you have part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5.
Yeah, but the truth is that it is happening. It happens all the time. And like I was saying at the beginning, I remember once somebody's husband died, and you won't believe this. And this is not hearsay, I was there. Somebody's husband died. And within a few hours, when the family, the husband's brothers came to see her, they said that the husband's room, their bedroom that they shared together, should be locked up so that the woman wouldn't have access to get documents from them. And I couldn't believe it. We had to step in to say, no, this is actually their bedroom where they sleep. Husband and wife used to sleep. So the husband has passed on now, and you're now saying that they should go and lock up the room so that the woman won't have access to the documents. There's some things that are just so ridiculous.
I lost the audio. I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear you at this point.
Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm unsure what I need to do, but...
Okay. Why don't you come out and come back again? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can't hear you. Somehow the audio from your end is gone.
Okay, I've just typed something in. Can you? Oh, you can't hear me.
Probably I need to leave and return. I don't have audio at all.
Yes, do that. So, come out. Let me see if I can send her text. How do we get this? I can't. Can you hear me now? She said she can't hear me, but she can't hear. Wow, this is just. I'm not sure if she can even read what. Wow, this is just amazing. This is ridiculous. Wow, 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 wow. Let me see if what do I do now? Let's see if I can get her back. And I can't send her a text because her number is on this phone that I'm using. Okay, that's it. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness, this is just incredible. Okay, in the few minutes that we have left, let's talk. What are the things that we should be aware of? Because we're trying to raise awareness. What are the things we should be aware of? What are the things we can do? And then at the end, I'll bring my lawyer, solicitor friend in to again come and help us. So tell us, Dr. Omolola, what are the things from your experience? What are the things?
I'm just going to point out 5 major things.
Okay.
You know, since that time passed. One is prayer, and I'm adding this first.
Okay.
You must be prayerful. I'm not talking religion now.
Yeah.
You've got to have something or someone higher than you spiritually holding you up. You cannot hold yourself up on the journey of widowhood.
Yeah.
Because after you go through the stages of grieving, depending on whatever happens to you, you need divinity.
Definitely.
You need that power.
Definitely.
Some people run to Babalawo if you know it works for you, but for me, the Trinity worked for me. I could call on the Trinity in the midnight, in the morning, any time of the day, while I'm driving, any time of the day. It is the only way you save yourself from depression, from psychosis, you know, from whatever may come at you.
Yes.
You need to be praying.
Yes.
Secondly, planning and preparation.
Okay.
Planning and preparation. Please take active part in the financial planning in your home. Those who are married, for those who are in relationship, serious relationships, take active part. A lot of people, when they become widowed, they don't know jack about finances. For instance, I have a background, I did accounting when I was in high school. My mom was an accountant. My siblings, 2 of them are accountants, you know. So I have knowledge of, you know, financial planning and all that. But in my home, we distributed roles. My husband took care of, you know, the property and things like that, and I took care of the welfare of the home, furnishing the home, decorating the home, feeding. When he died, I didn't know jack about where to pay power, electricity, water. I didn't know, because even when I pay for electricity or water, I would just give him the money.
Okay.
But thankfully, bills came to the house, so I was able to jump into that. So, and no matter how affluent your husband is, please do something. Work. Work. Even if you're working from home, have your own money. When my husband passed on, I had no access to anything. Even though he had given me his PIN, in the US, if you go to start withdrawing money, you could go to jail.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Except your name is on the account.
Wow.
So ensure that you have your own job, you have an investment, or your name is on the account.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of men don't trust their wife. Why marry a woman you can't trust? A lot of women don't trust their husband. Why marry? So you got to get the trust issue out. If it's just one account, hold jointly and be putting money there. And the thing is positioning. Whether your husband is a pastor, a practitioner, a politician, you have to be positioned to your.
Yeah, that's true. So
have knowledge. You know, have knowledge of the things, have knowledge of the policies guiding what is doing. Have people who can serve as your backup. Know enough to be able to step into that role. Because immediately he passes on, there are a gazillion people who wants to step into his role. I remember going to, you know, the presidency to say, my husband was at the political role, I want to step in. And they said, oh, you know what, you're not in the same line. He's a financial oracles consultant. You're not. I said, guess what? I was doing part of the work for him. The report is submitted. I wrote that report. But of course, because I was not affluential and did not have my own political network,
so you couldn't.
The role was not given to me. Next, you have to know the process. You have to know the process. And what do I mean by process? No matter how many years you have lived with someone, except you have gone through the legal, the religious or traditional process, you may find yourself all alone.
Wow.
For legal, you need your certificate. Yeah. You need your certificate. When the person dies,
marriage, that's it.
Certificate of marriage. Even if you do it culturally, find a way to have it endorsed. There are ways you can endorse documents. So if you do it in a church, because many churches go through the courts to give you your certificate, but some churches don't. They just give you their own paper. Find a way to validate it. Also, there's the power of attorney over finances. There's power of attorney over medical or over properties. Get it. You need those documents, especially to make decisions when he's unwell. And please, men or siblings, don't go making decisions. My husband will probably still be alive. You don't know his medical. Why take him home? Immediately you call the wife. This is not something to boogalicious about, you know, to be arrogant about. I'm the brother. When I take my husband to the hospital, my very first second statement, I'm giving the doctor's direction. I don't even trust my brain. I have it on my phone. So immediately I'm telling you, you can't give him penicillin, you can't give him this, you can't give him that. If you rush him, you're going to kill him. And that's what happened. You know, and finally protect yourself. And how do you protect yourself? Of course, with God, I've talked about prayers. The next thing is to go through the probate or the letter of administration process and do it as quickly as possible. And the odds are stacked against you if you don't have children with the man. They will discriminate against you legally. They will discriminate against you culturally. Legally, because in the U.S., if we had children together in the U.S., immediately the government will start paying them something.
Okay.
So if anybody comes along, the system already identifies you as beneficiary. Believe it or not, up till now, the nonsense $225 that they pay as federal cost was not paid to me. So it is important for you to safeguard things as soon as possible.
Wow.
So you need to protect yourself legally, culturally, however you need to do it. You need to make sure that you are protected. If that means relocating, you relocate. If that means changing where you're living, because they're going to come at you. They're going to come at you. There are times I will wake up, there's a strange car outside my door. I don't know who it is, but you know what? God has granted me peace on all sides.
Wow.
On all sides. And with that peace, I've been able to build back better. All the enemy sees is that I'm still advocating. Yes, I am still advocating, not for me, but most importantly for those who are voiceless, for those who don't have God, and for those who are not educated. Yes, I'm still trusting God. I would get justice. And let me wrap up with this. Let me talk to the youth. A lot of you abandoned widows. Even some of you were children of widows. So wrong. So wrong. Widows are the only people that can arise for youths and children. And that is why we don't have terrorism. When they steal money from those who can just see a child on the street and say, come home with me. A married woman cannot find a child on the street and say, come home with me. But a widow can. Because you know what? She has died and died again. She has gone through a lot, and a child on the street, she won't see you and say you want to kill her. She's taking you home. Why are you sleeping there? Come home. But if these people are crying out that they've been defrauded, and you don't jump to their aid, you are losing out. Just this week, a young man reached me to sponsor his education. I would have been able to if wealth was not stolen from me. I can't. I can offer you something only because God has taken me from the ashes of widowhood into the beauty of wealth. So you need to support. You need, when you hear that anybody's been abused, the way you jump up when you hear about rape, please jump up when you hear about widow abuse and fight till they get this wealth back, because this wealth belongs to you as well. This wealth belongs to you as well. When an African is defrauded, when a Christian is defrauded, it depletes the body. So we all have to rise up to fight for this wealth. And this wealth can even be used, even politically, to help the youth. So please support that youth around you. Don't leave them alone. Don't tag them. Go to them when you find them in churches, even those who are not crying out. How to be of help to you. And don't abuse them. Don't go to them making nonsense demands. Many of our widows have been raped mentally. Some of them are being raped even sexually through sexual cleansing. They will say for you to be able to marry somebody else, you have to sleep with your husband's brother. You have to have sex with your husband's father. Yes, a lot of these atrocities are still going on. Some are forced to drink cups water. Please be there for them. Don't let widows die in their trauma. We need them. We need their minds. Because don't forget, widows, you know, were one with their husbands and they have wisdom. You know, they've gleaned from their husband's wisdom. They've added to their own. They are knowledgeable. They are wise. Let's make them relevant, because indeed, they are relevant to the future of the world. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Just let me see if Sister Siju is here so she can come on. Is she on? Okay. Okay. I've invited you, Sister Siju, if you're on, I've invited you just to come and give us what else we can. Yes, thank you. So hello. That is Dr. Omolola, and this is Solicitor Siju Soremekun.
Wow. Dr. Omolola, thank you so much for being so vulnerable. And oh my goodness, my heart goes out to you. But I also admire you for the strength that you show. And not everybody is that strong. And I think that's why I'm here. Because not everybody could recover from such a traumatic experience the way that you have. So well done. I mean, I don't know what to say to you.
No, she's been amazing.
Express my admiration.
Yeah, she's been amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
You're strong, you're determined, you're focused. Yeah. And I think the way I can describe you is better, not bitter. Better, not bitter. Yes. Yeah. And that's always my advice to anyone that goes through stuff, because I think we all go through stuff. But the most important thing is that we become better and not bitter.
Yeah.
We don't waste our pain. You haven't wasted your pain because you shared this story, and many people have gained an awareness.
Yeah.
And really, I think all I should add, because you're so knowledgeable, even in law, so without being a lawyer, you know a lot. But things are slightly different here in the UK. In Nigeria, we're getting there. I mean, there are unscrupulous people in every profession, in every society, in every country.
Yeah.
I always say that. Maybe I defend Nigeria because that's where we all come from. So I hate, and also because my background is also in Nigeria. I actually started practicing law in Nigeria. I understudied my brother and my father. And the stories that you've told today about lawyers in Nigeria are sad. I mean, yes, we all hear of it and it happens. And I'm sure it cuts across nations where you have unscrupulous people. But one thing I would say, that everybody must have a will.
Okay.
And the phrase is, wills don't kill. We always think that, oh, if I write a will, that just means that I'm preparing to die, or I'm going to die. Wills don't kill. Not having a will could actually kill those that you love, because the stress that the people you leave behind can go through because your wishes are not carried out. A will really is, in effect, a letter of wishes. Okay. It just says, this is how I wish for my property to be divided, to be, this is how I wish my loved ones to be looked after when I'm no longer able to do so. Okay. And that is why it is so important, so that your property does not go to places where you don't want them to go. I mean, the worst case is where property becomes bona vacantia, as we call it. That means it gets forfeited to the crown, to the state, because there have been there's no record, or maybe it's lost. Sometimes when the person who writes the will doesn't tell their family and next of kin where it is, the will can be lost, and it's presumed that the person died intestate, as we say, that's died without a will. And if no beneficiaries can be found, maybe because he didn't have anybody looking out for him or visiting him, if no beneficiaries can be found, they will advertise in local newspapers to find beneficiaries. But if nobody comes forward, then the property is forfeited to the state. So God forbid that should happen. But we say God forbid, but I think like a coin, there are two sides. There's the man side and there's the God side. If one side is absent, it's a counterfeit. So let's all do our part. Let's have a will.
So should it be a joint will or individual?
It can be a joint will. That doesn't work for every marriage. It doesn't work for every home. It doesn't work for every situation. Yeah. Sometimes there are children who have been born in a previous marriage.
Okay.
And because of that, property division benefits those children, and not necessarily the children of the present marriage. So it doesn't always work. It can, if both parties agree that even though they're children of a previous marriage, that the property should be shared in a certain way. Then joint wills, which we call mirror wills, are perfect. And permit me to say, I'm not a will and probate specialist. Okay. I always direct my clients to a wills and probate lawyer. Okay. But I know enough to say that everybody must have a will. Where powers of attorney come in. A power of attorney is a statement of a living wish, where you're no longer capable of making those decisions by yourself. So there we have lasting power of attorney for financial decisions, and we have power of attorney for medical decisions. Because we all come to a point, God forbid, as we all like to say in Christianese, we may get to a point where we're no longer able to make medical decisions for ourselves. Okay. So you appoint a trusted person, that this is the person in case I become so incapacitated that I cannot make decisions as to how I want my doctors to make decisions for me.
Yeah.
For example, some people don't want to be resuscitated after a certain point if they feel that the quality of life is depleted. Then those are decisions that you can put down in a power of attorney.
Okay.
For medical decisions.
Okay.
And then finances. People get to a point where they lose the corpus mentis. That means the mental capacity to make sound financial decisions. It's possible to appoint a person, a next of kin,
okay,
a trusted person, to look after those decisions on your behalf.
Okay. Okay.
And give them access to your bank account. Because one thing a lot of people don't realize is that even if I have a PIN number of a person, of a spouse, of a loved one, the moment the person is certified dead,
yes,
I have no right to access their bank account. It's a criminal offense.
Wow.
A bank account is legally frozen at the point of death. And that means only letters of administration where there is no will,
okay,
or the grant of probate, which gives the right to administer the account to the appointed executors.
Okay, sister, just let me stop you for a minute. Someone just asked a
Okay.
question. When should you get a power of attorney? And before you answer, I actually forgot, even though we don't have a lot of time left. If you have any question for Dr. Omolola, put it in the question box, please. So, Sister Siju, to you, when should you get a power of attorney? She's changed. At what stage in your life should you get?
At what stage? In my experience, I think a lot of people, when they're 60, or when they retire, or when they feel that they are, when they have cause to be concerned about their future ability to manage their own affairs.
Okay.
If, for example, there's a risk of dementia or any medical condition.
But in Dr. Omolola's case, her husband was in 60.
No. But I think I recall that she mentioned that he had a medical condition.
Yes.
Yes. In that case, it is wise to, not saying that those who don't have one are unwise. These things happen, but we must always borrow a leaf from the books of those who have experienced the pitfalls of not making these arrangements in advance. Yes, so that is my advice. And when it comes to the matrimonial home, again, sometimes the matrimonial home is only in the name of one spouse.
Yeah.
But the law steps in the UK to protect. There is what we call the matrimonial homes rights that you can register at the land registry to protect what is not a legal interest. It's only the person who is named.
Do you protect that before?
Yes.
So if the matrimonial home is in one person's name,
if it's in one person's name,
do you protect that before the person dies or afterwards?
Oh no, while the person is alive. If you are concerned that you are living in a home that is not legally yours. A property is only legally yours if your name appears on the title deeds. That is with the land, held at the land registry. If your name is not on the title, then you can establish a beneficial interest. You can protect that beneficial interest. And I recall Dr. Omoteso mentioning how a woman has contributed towards, she's looked after the home, she stayed at home to look after the children. She may not have made financial contributions in the pounds and pence, but she has made other contributions in that she has looked after the home, she has stayed at home and lost her earning capacity by looking after the children. Then the court recognizes a beneficial interest that can be protected by way of what we call a matrimonial homes notice on the land register. And that means that you cannot be evicted from that property. It is your home and you have an interest, a beneficial interest for life.
So, someone asks, is the POA, will the POA be stated at the same time as you write a will?
They're separate documents.
They're separate documents.
Yeah, a will takes effect on death. Yes.
Yes,
A
it's
will
your
is a
age.
letter of wishes after I have, well, they say, should I say, crossed to the other side of Jordan?
Okay.
Yes, that is a will. A power of attorney is a living, can be called a living will.
Okay. All right. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. Dr. Omolola, thank you so much. It's been amazing, really amazing. This, your story, it's an eye-opener, like someone said, and it's something that we all need to just start to put things in place so that, and you know, I said at the beginning, we don't want it to happen. Nobody wants to be a widow or widower, but that's life. At some point in time, it's going to happen to us. So shine your eye.
Yes.
But we really appreciate you coming to be so vulnerable, and our prayer is that God will continue to strengthen you. You know, the Bible says He's the protector of the widow, and He's fighting on your behalf. So those who have come against you, they're not fighting you; they're fighting God also. They're fighting God really, because God is definitely fighting for you. And I can't wait. We will come back by the grace of God one day to come and share your testimony of how God dealt with all those who rose against you. He will, and you come back. But it's been a pleasure meeting you, Dr. Omolola. Thank you so much. And Sister Siju, thank you too for coming to give us your bits. And
thanks again for having me.
Thank you. And guys, if you want to know more about wills, probate, I've got Dr. Siju Soremekun. At least she knows a bit, but I've also got other lawyers that I can put you in touch with. So send me a DM if you want help. But Dr. Omolola also said something. She said that because some widows don't actually have the money to get a lawyer. But she said that there's a lot of things you can actually do on your own. Can you explain? She said when you go to the probate office, they'll point you in the right direction. I think that's what she said. Even though it'll be better if you get a lawyer because you probably might not understand someone. But she said there's some things that you might be able to do on your own. Because as a widow or widower, you might not be able to afford to take up all these battles. I mean, ideally, it shouldn't be a battle, but people are wicked. People are wicked, sadly.
Yeah, it's actually, you can actually get, you can go to the Citizen Advice Bureau, who will help you. And even in Nigeria, there are a lot of organizations now to help widows. There are those who will give a little bit of pro bono advice to a vulnerable person. Yeah. So there are organizations out there. Nigeria is fast catching up with the plights faced by a lot of women, a lot of widows, and that culture of grabbing property away from the widow. Let's hope it's on its last breathing its last soon and very soon.
Amen. Amen. Dr. Omolola, someone asked if the praise protest, is it in person or online?
Online and in person. Online and in person. So on this day, we're asking many people to retweet some of what we have already tweeted before, put out their own posts, their own tweets, just in support of generally. We're going to be using Justice for Omolola, use End Widow Abuse. You can use Justice for Widows. But just be with us on that day, September 30, from dawn to dusk. But physically, for those who are in New Jersey, if you reach me, yes.
Okay, please, will you send me the information so that I can post it out? And I'm sure it will be on your Instagram. Okay.
I sure will. I sure
Thank
will.
you so much again.
Yes, it's going to be, yes. It's going to be informally.
Okay. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you. And yes, I'll be in touch with you. Thank you. Sister Siju, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Yeah. Bye. Thank you for having me.
God bless you.